Hey, you're watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. I'm Elisa. I've been doing a ton of readings for the last week or so because the energy has been super intense and things are in a super huge flux. And that's like when I kind of tend to do readings. I'm starting with the Mystical Shaman Oracle. And yeah, like the readings have all, oh my gosh. Okay, these came out together. Been leading up to, it's sort of like ominous, like there's this big conflict that's kind of brewing, and like right now it's sort of just kind of open-ended. Like there was like reading a few days ago called The S Hits the Fan, which I'll link, that was sort of like alluding to this like brewing conflict. And then yesterday I tried to do a reading to sort of see if I could, if there had been any movement or if there, you know, and it was just sort of like, it was kind of like still brewing, but you could kind of see like the writing on the wall a little bit. Yeah, so anyways, I'm just gonna see what comes out today. Okay, so at the bottom we got earth energy, so that's super interesting, super grounded, and it's really interesting in the context of the first card being the middle world, which this card sort of represents like three-dimensional reality that we all inhabit. And I think in some ways it's sort of like Earth is kind of like ground zero, which is interesting because that came out in the reading I just did. And this is sort of like this, it's almost like there's this bubble of reality, and we have all these spiritual elements influencing it here, and then we have all these earth elements influencing it here, you know. But it's sort of like these birds, it's like they're bringing this message of truth into the three-dimensional reality that we're living in. And that's really interesting because that has been a message that's been really coming through. Like in the one from yesterday, it was all about love is the truth and the truth is love. And so it's like, what I'm sort of getting from this is it's just sort of like we all kind of like live in our own bubbles of reality. And then there's like this collective bubble of reality. And right now there's this clash between like different people's bubble of reality, like between like sort of like Russia and this sort of like authoritarian like control, and the West and this sort of like idealism of freedom, you know, and self actualization, you know, and there's this clash between these two worlds. But like in the past, like this clash has been in the realm of ideas, you know, in like the air realm. But right now this clash is happening on the ground, like in the realm of the earth, in the realm of like tangible reality. And this is like a reflection of the moon and like the cycles like of life that we go through. And this is interesting too because this also came out in the last two readings. So this is the third reading in a row, and it came out with this card. And this is a card sort of like of karma, and just like having to, like what you put out is gonna come back to you, but like you have to sacrifice something that means something to you. Like she's sacrificing this butterfly, and it's interesting because it came out with a hummingbird, and this is a card, you know, of the hummingbird is just like this delicate, beautiful bird. So people kind of underestimate the hummingbird, but the hummingbird is actually super fierce, and it can like fly like thousands and thousands of miles, you know, and it'll like fiercely protect its territory, which is interesting considering, you know, what's going on with the Ukraine situation. And I think it's also, it's a card of like rising above and kind of like pulling yourself up by sort of like the spiritual dimension. And like one way that people do that is sort of like by identifying with sort of like stories, because, you know, all history repeats itself. And so like people get inspired by stories of people in the past that have gone through similar things, you know. And so it's sort of like there's something about this where it's almost like this sacrifice is attached to like an archetype of like a fairy tale almost, is what I'm sort of getting from that. And then the last card we get is Wild Woman, which, you know, we have this woman and she's dancing and she's totally herself and she's, you know, and this, like, to me in this context is a card of like actualization. So it's, which kind of suggests that freedom wins out over authoritarianism, which is the message that has been coming through in many of the readings. Because right now we're like all kind of like wondering what's going to happen, you know, but this really speaks to like self-actualization and freedom. So yeah, I'm gonna go to the Intuitive Night Goddess and pick some more cards and see what comes through. But I mean, it definitely seems like, from the way that the messages have been playing out in the cards, but also just like from looking at the news, is like everyone's expecting this sort of like battle that to end all battles. Right when I said that, the Tower, it's the Revolution in this deck, but it's the Tower card falls out. So that's interesting. And so we're expecting this card fell out right before it, which is sort of like we see it off in the distance and we're sort of manifesting it, but it hasn't happened yet. So it's like we're expecting this huge battle to end all battles that's going to happen like any time now. And so everyone's just sort of like kind of like bracing themselves for the impact of whatever this is going to be. And that just seems to be, you know, like a universal energy that's happening right now. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is very dramatic. Okay. One more card and I'll tell you what I got, because it's like, this is crazy. Okay. So at the bottom, we got the Five of Cups. So the Five of Cups is it's kind of like a cautionary tale, because it's like we have 5 cups and 3 of them have spilled out. But the message with the Five of Cups is to focus on what still remains and go forward with that, because you can't do anything about spilled milk, like it's already spilled. So you have to focus on the, you know, and the Two of Cups also represents love, which is interesting because the reading from yesterday was like, love is the way, you know. We have to focus on that and move forward with that, and not so much focus on everything that's enraged us and all the crap that's out there, because you can't build anything off of that, you know. But what I'm seeing is, like, in the distance, like coming down the pipe, is this huge battle, you know. And then we have Reclamation, which this is the Devil card in the normal deck, but in this card it's, I mean, this deck is called Reclamation. So it's sort of like, what lost part of yourself can you reclaim to empower yourself to move forward in the reality that we're actually living in now, you know? So for example, with this whole thing of Vladimir Putin, like, this guy has been in power forever, and so people have just been like kissing his butt, you know, and like telling him what he wants to hear, and he's kind of created this situation where nobody in his bubble can like oppose him, you know, because things that he doesn't want to see, like he doesn't see them, you know, but this is like kind of created a weakness, like an Achilles heel for him, because he's not actually seeing the reality on the ground as it is. And so for that reason, even though he's like, you know, sent the third largest army in the world to attack this little country, he's not seeing things as they are. And so the army actually they're not properly equipped, and they don't have a good strategy. And like, in order for him to empower himself, he's going to have to accept all of these things that are in the reality that he's not seeing in order to like move forward in a productive way. And so it's sort of like, if he doesn't reclaim those things, he's gonna lose his power, because it's already cracking, you know, like it's already crumbling. So this is a card of like empowering. The only thing that you can do where you're going to have the most power is to accept things as they are and move forward based on the reality on the ground. And like that's what's going to empower you, you know, because things are shifting. Like, there is a new world order. There's a reading, new world order. There's a new world order that's emerging out of the ashes of all of this, you know. And then we have the Queen of Wands. This is a warrior queen. And she's like fiery and passionate, and she's like going forward, but she's empowered, you know. So it's just sort of like, it's almost like, there's this reading from a long time ago that I did on January 6th or something, before everything happened. But I was like, there's this line being drawn in the sand. And it's sort of like, the world has changed. Like, whether you accept it or not, like, it has changed. So it's sort of like, people are going to move forward based on whatever their own personal bubble of reality is, you know. But only the people who have a bubble of reality that's in alignment with the truth and the reality on the ground are going to prosper in this new way that the world is. Like, that's kind of the message that I'm getting. It's sort of like you're either tuned in to the reality on the ground and you've aligned your plans with that, or you might, it's like, which side of this are you going to drain all your cups? Or are you going to go forward based on the reality on the ground? Like, that's kind of what I'm getting from this deck. Okay. So, I'm going to go to Everyday Tarot, pick a couple cards, but right when I split it, I got Wheel of Fortune and Nine of Swords. So, like, this big shift, this big change is happening, and there's all this fear and anxiety being released, because, I mean, it's like revolutionary. Like, this is really crazy. And to get that, like, and the Devil, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is just like this epic battle, a showdown of good versus evil, which that's another reading that just happened recently. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go with the Everyday Tarot, see what we get. Oh, I didn't realize that 2 cards fell out here. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we got the 6 of Wands. So this is victory. It's like there's going to be loss from whatever this battle is, but this speaks to victory. And this speaks to victory. Self-actualization and freedom, you know. And the first thing, I got this, and I didn't realize that 2 cards fell out. But we got the 3 of Wands, which is this, you know, seeing off in the distance what's coming down the pipe and like manifesting it. But underneath we got the 3 of Swords, which is the card of heartbreak and sorrow. So it's like we're looking at this battle that's about to happen, and we like know that it's going to be like harsh, and we're sort of like, you know, everyone's on pins and needles because it's like, what's going to happen and what's going to be lost? Like, we know there's going to be destruction and pain and sorrow that's going to be released from this, but we don't know like how that's going to take shape, you know. But then we got the star, you know, and this is a card of healing and of wishes coming true and a card of being recognized, you know. So it's just sort of like and then we get, you know, followed by the Six of Swords, which is like moving on from a bad situation to a better situation. And we got Judgment, you know, which is a card of reckoning and like things being made right, you know. But again, there's a lot of pain that's going to have to be released in order for that to happen, in order to have this victory. So like this really speaks to this epic change that's happening. And like, and it's almost like heartbreak is built into the fabric of it. Like it's like inevitable. And that's, I mean, that's what's hard about it. You know, we don't know how it's going to play out, but we have to move through it, and we know it's going to happen, you know. Okay, so I'm going to the Sacred Destiny. Wow. Okay, so we got adventures. So it's like there's a new adventure that's coming online. And what's interesting is that the three that I pulled, it's like there's these dark skies in all of them. But it's like openness, opportunity, and power. So there's this spark, this inspiration that's coming, and this opportunity. Like we have to be open to it, because that adventure is what's going to lead us to this victory. Like things cannot stay the same. We have to move forward, and the only way out is through. So yeah, this is totally epic, and so I'll probably be back with another message tomorrow, but good luck, and I'll see you on this other side.